So, for reference, when you ask an autistic person how they're doing, that's kind of a tricky question and a loaded one because there might be clothing tags involved, and we might be having a very high sensitivity day and could potentially explode at any moment. So, we're not quite sure how to answer that question. So, if we look at you with a blank stare, slowly back away. So, you guys know I like to do my hair while I'm talking because otherwise I would never get my hair done because I put things off and I procrastinate and I just don't want to. But anyway, so lately I've been really noticing my sensitivities are just like, wow, uh, to the point where it feels like my clothes are loud. It's like my clothes are like screaming at me, like, "Ugh," you know what I mean? I know that probably sounds crazy, but you know what though? If you have clothing sensitivities, maybe it doesn't. My clothes feel loud, and they feel louder than me and anything that I could possibly yell or shout. Since I've been going through this whole autistic thing with my psychotherapist and everything like that, I've been going back through and kind of reviewing my old life through a new lens, new glasses, new perspective, going all the way back to being a child. One of the things that has been really evident lately is remembering the things that I used to get in trouble for as a child. And I do have notes. I do things unscripted because I suck at following notes and remembering to say and do things. So I don't know why I do it. I guess it just makes me feel better. One of the things that I remember as a kid was I hated wearing clothes. I was constantly in trouble for taking my clothes off, taking my shoes and socks off, and I mostly lived barefoot. And I just remember always being in trouble for that. And, where are your shoes? And, put your socks back on. And, you know, and I always remember them having to, put everything back on me after they put up, because I was very small. I'm talking like, I remember back to when I was 3 and 4 years old, have very, 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 very vivid memories on certain childhood things. And it's so interesting because now I'm starting to see those things that I have, like, those things that I have very detailed memories of were all sensory related, you guys. So weird. But I remember sensory things. And so I remember always being barefoot and, never liking to wear socks and everything like that, and not understanding why. I remember always feeling like my socks were like balled up underneath my toes or whatever, because they would like shove the shoe on, and try to get your heel in there. And then my sock would ball up at my toes. And then I would cry. And I was so uncomfortable, and I would just take my shoes off. And then, once my shoes came off, well then, the rest of my clothes have to come off because why not? I've been thinking from a completely different perspective. I literally hated wearing socks and shoes. Matter of fact, it's kind of funny. Well, okay, yeah, it's kind of funny. But I remember one time in kindergarten and maybe a couple of times in first grade going to school, and I had forgotten to put my shoes on. The me now is wondering, where were my parents at? I pretty much raised myself, and it's like, how did I get all the way to school with either no shoes and socks on, or my pink slippers, my pink house shoes, because they were my favorite. Those were the only shoes I wanted to wear. And I would, of course, they would call my parents, and they'd have to come down and, either pick me up or, bring me my shoes and socks and stuff like that to school and everything. And oh man, I did that so many times. And there were times, throughout school, I would forget my shoes. Like even in middle school, I would walk to a friend's house, because we walked to school together, and she'd be like, "Girl, where are your shoes?" I'd be like, "Shit." But luckily I only lived like, 2 blocks from her, and so we'd go back to my house, we'd get my shoes. I did it a couple of times in high school, and I've done it several times as an adult. And matter of fact, I to this day I drive around with my shoes, my shoes, um, in the back seat and everything like that. So I always have an extra pair, always. Because one time, this was like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I went to a job. I was working at a lumber company, and I went to my job and I had forgotten my shoes. And so I'd gotten all the way to my desk and I looked down and I was like, shit, I don't have my shoes on. And my boss came in and he's like, where are your shoes? And I'm like, I forgot them. He's like, how do you forget your shoes? I said, I don't know, but I forgot my shoes. So I had to go back home and get them, of course. As I was leaving, because it was a trailer on a lumber yard lot, I tripped down the stairs and I got big, big, big splinters in my feet. And then I stepped on a splinter and I went, ow, and I fell down the steps and I broke my big toe on my left foot. So that was expensive. I was sitting here the other day cutting out tags from all of my clothes and then thinking back through my childhood, and back through my younger years, thinking about most of the meltdowns that I had as an adult were around the clothing that I was wearing. Like I remember in particular, after I'd graduated from high school, I was looking for a job and everything like that. And back then in the '80s and everything, the late '70s, early '80s, they still expected women to wear dresses and skirts to interviews. Well, and to your jobs, period. You weren't allowed to wear pants. Only a few places allowed pants back then. The place that I was going through to get a job, I was going through a temp agency, because now I understand why I did that too. Because I mean, I literally sucked at interviewing and talking to people and shaking their hands and looking in their eye, and all of that was a struggle for me, and I didn't understand why. And so I went through this placement agency, and after I'd gone on, like, I don't know, 90 interviews, over 90 interviews, they were like, look, you have got to get better clothing, you've got to do something with your hair, and you have got to wear nylons. You can't go to these interviews bare-legged. Guys, I had never worn nylons before. Oh, it was just, that was 1978. I put on my first pair of actual nylons. And from that day forward until the day I decided to stop wearing them in the, I don't know, late '90s, I was in perpetual state of, you know, meltdown all the time. I mean, it's so clear to me now. But back then I had no idea what was going on, why I would just like pop off, on my jobs and everything like that. But now knowing that I was just in like major sensitivity, sensory overload, from my clothing and from noises and sounds and smells and those sorts of things. But the thing that has been driving me most is my sensitivities to clothing, textures, tags, material, those sorts of things. When I tell you, having to wear nylons every day and then having to wear uncomfortable shoes, because they wanted you to wear closed-toed shoes, like with a heel or whatever, or just closed-toed shoes. I couldn't wear my tennis shoes, and I couldn't wear my, because I had big feet and wide feet back then, and so I was constantly uncomfortable. My shoes were always too small and too tight, and I was always wearing these nylons. Had the worst feel. Oh, now I'm looking back, I'm like, it was my clothes, you guys. And I followed the rules. Let me tell you about that. I follow the rules, staunch rule follower. And like if a mattress or a pillow said don't remove the tags, I did not remove the tags. I know it sounds silly. I remove tags now, but it's still uncomfortable because it's like, am I going to get in trouble? It says by law, do not remove these tags. I would have problems with my clothing. Like one time I did figure out, I'm like, I think it's the tags that's causing me problems. You guys, I couldn't remove the tags because I thought I'm going to get in trouble if I remove the tags off of these clothes. Why did I think that? Especially as an adult. Why did I think that? But I did. And so it felt wrong to remove the tags off of my clothing. And then the other part of me was like, well, if you remove the tag off the clothing, you're not going to know because back then in the 80s, almost everything was like dry clean or hand wash and hang to dry, that sort of thing. And they would put all those instructions, on the tags. And so part of me was like, God, I got to get rid of this tag. But I didn't because, first off, I noticed other people didn't cut tags out of their things. And so I figured, well, they must just, push through and just, work through it, and everything like that. So I can push through and I can work through it. I'm normal just like they are. I would try to, I would try to push through. But after a while, there was this one shirt that I loved and I was at work and it was just bugging me. And I finally just went into the bathroom and I cut the damn thing off and I threw the tag in the bathroom. I was so taken aback by that whole thing of removing that tag that I went back downstairs, back into the bathroom, and I fished into the garbage can and I pulled that tag out. And then I would like safety pin the tag to my clothes so that way when I went to go wash them, I would know how I was supposed to wash them and everything like that. And I know that just sounds crazy, but that's what I did. And it's so crazy. And I'm sitting back now and I'm thinking about how totally uncomfortable my whole life has been because of clothing. And you have to wear clothes every day, because it's an expectation. But the textures, I mean, like there was cotton. Matter of fact, I wrote these down. Cotton, I can do cotton. I can do some flannel. It depends. It has to be the right type of scratchy, itchy type of flannel with just the right amount of softness, with just the right amount of fiber and touch. I can do flannel. I cannot do nylon, and I don't like wearing silk. I like the feel of silk, like on my skin if it happens to cross by, but wearing it, no, because it makes me sweat. It like holds in all my body heat, and anytime I wear anything like polyester, which I hate, polyester or silk or anything like that doesn't have like fibers that breathable fibers, I just sweat. And once I start sweating, I get uncomfortable. And then once I start sweating and it starts running down my face or down my back, oh, why does just thinking about that just set me free? So I tried to wear things that don't make me sweat. Wool, no, not on any level whatsoever. Cashmere, maybe. Acrylic, no. Wool, no. Denim, it really depends on the denim. It has to be soft denim, but not stiff. Holy cow, no. Uh, Sweaters. I love sweaters, but they have to be of the right material. And I love turtleneck sweaters. I love things sitting around, my neckline. And so that's why I tend to wear chokers, and it stops me from pinching my neck because I used to do this a lot too. Now I know that that's an autistic stim. Isn't that just weird? But yeah, I used to do this. So instead of doing this, I like the pressure of like turtlenecks on my neck, and I like to wear chokers. And I love fur, anything fur, like my stuffed animals back there. They're that soft, they're super soft fur and everything like that. But I have like many fur blankets with this really soft lining and everything like that. I love those, and I literally sit under those and have them at my beck and call all year long. I don't care if it's 120 degrees outside. I've got my lap blanket and it's fur. Don't judge me. Seams and tags is another problem that I have. And it's really tricky. It's really tricky, especially the seams, because I can't do anything with the seams. And so ultimately, what ends up happening is I end up just not wearing that piece of clothing. I've got so many things that I've bought that I can't wear. And I didn't understand why I couldn't wear them. You understand? So I'm like, it's pretty, it's the perfect color, the material looks nice, the tags and the seams, and especially those shirts or those things that have like two or three tags in the neck and then maybe one or two down the side seams. Why? I don't even understand it. This is going to sound crazy. Since going through all of the tests and all of the questionnaires and all of that stuff with my psychotherapist and her saying, as she had suspected all along that I was autistic, I told her, I said, why do I feel more autistic? Why am I doing all of these things all of a sudden? And she's like, no. She goes, you're not feeling more autistic. She goes, you're unable to mask like you used to. She goes, your mask has come off. And even if you manage to put a mask back on, she goes, it's not going to be the same one, and it's not going to be as efficient as the one you've been wearing over 60 years. She goes, that one's gone. She goes, so no, you're not more autistic. She goes, but what has happened is once you started on your Adderall and it quieted your brain down, because your brain had just been going full tilt crank speed for decades, we quieted that down. And so now the real you is bubbling up. And then you're going to have to figure out how to work with your ADHD and your autism, cohesively. Because I told her, I said, the sensitivities with my clothing is just unreal right now. And then I just talked with her this week, and she said something so interesting. She was like, you realize that probably a good 50 to 60% of your meltdowns and your anger and your agitation throughout your life was probably associated with your clothing. She goes, because you have to wear clothes every day. She goes, and you didn't know what it was or how to explain it. And that's true. And she goes, so no, you're not more autistic. And tags and seams are not bothering you more than usual. She goes, you're now at a point where you're unable to mask and just work through those sensations. She goes, but they've always been there. And she goes, and they have come out as anger at work, at your spouse, at your kids, at the traffic, at whatever else is going on, because everything else encompassing all of the sensory issues that I have, plus all of the communication issues that I have, and the guilt and shame associated with that is compounded by constantly wearing clothes that are rubbing, scratching and scratching and scratching, and just uncomfortable, and stuff like that. And it's making me itch just thinking about it. But like today, this shirt has a tag in it somewhere, right here. It's not bothering me. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. But this shirt, I hate to say I've had it on for 4 days now because it's so comfortable. I love the color. It's soft. It's just the right amount of looseness because I don't like my clothes too loose. I don't mind tight clothes, but they have to fit perfect. Like I have this pair of like gray like yoga pants that are like spandex and cotton. They're like and they make me look so good. I love wearing those, but they fit just so and just right. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I like my clothing to feel, fitted but loose. And this shirt that I have on right now just feels so good. And I just found it the other day, and so I'm excited about that. And of course, it's interesting now because when I find something that I really like and it's comfortable, I usually buy like two or three. So I have another one somewhere, and it's burgundy. I'm gonna try to find it. So the next time I do a YouTube video, I'm gonna wear it. And so we're gonna do that. And and you guys, and then I keep mentioning this about my hair. I'm here to body double. If you have natural hair or curly hair or I don't care, any kind of hair, and you struggle, with self-care and you just want to hear somebody yapping or you just want to sit with somebody while you do your hair, that's what I'm doing. And I also do my hair so I can keep myself occupied because without it, my stems are uncontrollable and I would have to mask. And I like to come on here and I like to try not to mask, but I know that I'm masking somewhat. Like right now, I really want to do this. This is what's in my brain right now. And that's what I want to do. But, I'm sitting here doing my hair, and so that helps me, keep focused and everything like that. So that's what I'm doing. And so, if you want to do your hair with me, do your hair. Put me on in the background. If you need to clean the bathroom, prop me up somewhere, let my voice just run, and clean your bathroom. Do whatever. We're here to support each other. I've been wanting to talk to you guys more about the sensitivities and everything like that. And it's more than just touching and feeling things. Like, I told a story in one of my other videos about how if I'm in an elevator and somebody has on something that looks really super, super soft, I gotta touch it. And I have to try to do it in a way where they don't know that I'm touching it. And if I can't touch it, I'm staring at them. And yes, I have been accused of staring. I don't think I'm staring, but people think I'm staring and they find it uncomfortable and they find me kind of creepy, which is so weird because I'm not a creepy person, but I am inquisitive and I am nosy, and I like seeing what people wear, and I'll sit there, and if I can't touch the fabric myself, I'll be like, I wonder why they like that, and did they buy it on purpose, and how does that feel against their skin? And I mean, it's a whole thing. I have a whole thing going on in my brain about, what they're wearing. One of the other things that I struggle with is socks and underwear. I have problems with my feet and legs where I have to wear, like, I don't know what they're called, support hose. And I don't wear them like I should, and I suffer for it. I can't get the seams right around my toes, or they're too tight and they constrict, and they like constrict my toes together, and I can't stand that. I guess I would consider the seams of socks, to be like tags, in clothing. But it's hard for me to wear socks. It's hard for me to get them right in my shoe. It's hard for me to get them to fit around my toes correctly to where they're not driving me crazy. I mean, literally, if I would go to work and somebody would be talking to me or giving me instructions, I literally couldn't hear a word they were saying because my socks were so loud. I couldn't hear anything else. All I could hear was the seam and the tightness, and it's balling up underneath my, maybe not my big toe, but my toe right next to that, or my pinky feels like it's all bound up. I can't hear what you're saying. My socks are bothering me. And I'm telling you, when I sit down and I think back through all of this kind of stuff, I'm like, my God, it's no wonder that people thought I was the weird girl. You know, it's no wonder that they thought that I was insensitive. I've been called a narcissist. I've been called rude and condescending, and I'm none of those things. But what I am now, I understand, is overstimulated. Like 100% of the time, something is overstimulating me. Even if I'm quiet, I'm like, what was that? Hear that? Constantly. I hear everything. Those people of you who like to wear those ear things to keep out sound, I could never do that because I need to be safe. I come from childhood trauma. Maybe that's what it is, but I need to be safe. I need to hear everything. And so, even that, 100% of all of my life, something is being oversensitized. Is it my hearing, sight, smell, touch, what I'm wearing? Is it the heat? Is it too cold? Is it too loud? Is the wind blowing? Is it too humid? Is it too muggy? Am I sweating? Do I have an itch somewhere? I mean, I see it so clearly now. And it's like, it's no wonder I'm always, always in a heightened state of panic and anxiety. And I'm beginning to wonder, and I'm doing all of this as a discovery for me. And so I can't wait to find out, well, it's not one particular thing. I know that it's all everything. It's it's everything all at once. And then while all of that is going on all at once, my brain never stops. My brain is constantly going, and it never stops. Even when I'm sleeping, my brain never stops, and it never shuts off. And it's absolutely maddening, you know. And sometimes I'm like, I just need a break from my brain. But it's kind of funny because then when I do get a break from my brain, I feel lonely and it feels quiet. These sensory issues are just crazy. And I was thinking the other day, we had some friends over, and she was like, "Oh, you know, how are you feeling today?" Because and she's just a caring person. I understand, and she truly cares about my well being and everything like that. And I looked at her with this blank stare, and I didn't know what to say. And so I did my standard canned masking answer. "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine," with the fake smile. "I'm fine," you know. And but I wasn't, because I was uncomfortable. I had taken a shower that day. I was sweating still. I hate taking showers for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is because afterwards I sweat for hours after taking a shower, and I freaking hate it. I hate the water going down my skin and my back to begin with, and then I've got to deal with sweating and having the sweat run down my body where I just had soap and water. That's a problem. I'm beginning to understand now more where my sensory overloads are coming from, and why I would just like, you know, me looking here. I don't know where I'm supposed to look. Am I even looking at you guys? Maybe I should go back and watch my own videos. I don't really pay attention when I'm editing because I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing, because I'm trying to teach myself how to edit. And so I forgot what I was saying, because that's what I do. Always being in a state of sensory overload has just been an interesting theory for me to discover, and the anxiety and distress that I'm always feeling, and it sets off all of the behavioral issues, and everything like that I would get accused of doing. And I've actually lost jobs behind my meltdowns at work. I remember one in particular, and man, I wish I'd have known. But they were talking to me about something, and this was probably like 15 years ago. And so I'm masking hard and trying to just maintain and trying to just be in the moment. And they were like, "Are you paying attention?" And I lost it. And I'm like, "Blah blah blah, you mf'er," and blah blah blah, and "You're so fucking rude," and blah, blah, blah. Guys, I know what was going on that day. I was very uncomfortable with what I was wearing, because it was a uniform. It was one of my first retail jobs, and I was wearing this uniform shirt, and it was stiff and it was scratchy, and it had like three tags in the neck and one around the armpit, and they had tags on each side, and you had to tuck your shirts in, and so it was constantly rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. And then I was wearing underwear, and my underwear was constantly shifting and going up my booty. And so you're sitting there and you can't, pick and dig it out. And then all these things are going on. And then you're in trouble at work because you have no executive functioning, and you fucked up another job, or missed another deadline, or misheard and misrepresented something again. And then you just explode. And I couldn't figure out what was taking me over the edge. Well, when I think back and look at those sorts of things, I know it was my clothing. My clothing was so loud, I couldn't focus on anything that they were saying. And so I'm staring off into space, trying to maintain some sort of focus so I can hear what they're saying, right? And then I just snap. And the funny thing is when I snap, it's almost like it's not me. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I've named my personas now. And no, I don't have multiple personalities. Kind of feels like that, but I don't. But there's me, random Grannie. And then, like I've said before, on the right side, my creative side is Dee Dee, ADHD. And on this side coexists with my autism, and that's Autism Lizzie. Lizzie runs 70, 75% of the show and gives Dee Dee over here 25%, maybe 30%, if she's feeling, generous that day. And so I can look back now and see the impulsiveness of me and the executive dysfunction of me and the daydreaming of me, and then me staring off into space trying to force myself in a different avenue to come back to pay attention to what's being said to me. All of that's going on while I'm trying to mask and while I'm trying to ignore all of the sensitivities going on. So it was just always difficult to focus. And one of the reasons I wanted to come back on here and address sensitivities, and I'm going to be doing it a lot, because for me, the sensitivities is what drives everything for me. And I already struggle with communication, which is so interesting. I can't wait to just dive down into all of this for you guys and for me, because I'm on an awareness and a discovery, and oh, water running down. What was I saying? Okay, so I think I was saying that sensitivities. I'm realizing that sensitivities drive most of my issues. I don't want to say problems because they're not problems. They're just things that I have to learn how to work through. But I understand it more now, and I already struggle with communication. And so when you couple the communication issues and then you blend that with other sensitivities like sound, sight, smell, touch, all that stuff, it just amplifies everything. I'm starting to see how all of this kind of weaves together, and why I've had so many problems, like, in relationships, trying to, structure friendships, and, working, and, learning, everything like that, and not realizing, all of these underlying problems. And so this big thing that I'm hoping is a takeaway is, while you're navigating your own autism or your own ADHD or combination thereof, or somebody in your family is neurodivergent, I'm hoping by me explaining some of these things might help you. Whether you're self-diagnosed or not diagnosed, or even just wondering, like, what's up with my spouse, or what's up with my kid, or you know, what's up with my girlfriend, boyfriend, what's up with my boss, those sorts of things. Awareness. And it's kind of funny now, but remember, remembering my mom chasing me and making me laugh and everything like that, but put your clothes back on and blah 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 blah, literally chasing me down to put my clothes back on. And now I understand. And I was young. I mean, I remember being in I remember when I was in diapers, and I remember I hated the feel of the diapers and everything like that. And I know this sounds crazy. I remember that the diapers felt soft. I remember that. I didn't like how it felt around my waist and around my legs. And so I would take my diaper off. Now, keep in mind, I'm wearing a diaper. I was either undoing the pins myself. I figured out how to undo the pins, or just, pulling them down and off, because, it just, I had to be naked. If I could be naked, that would be awesome. But, that goes against social norms, so we can't do that. Well, I'm done with my hair. I don't know if I covered everything I wanted to talk about, and it really doesn't matter because I like to just yap anyway. So I'm sure I'll be addressing this again and again and again, along with a whole bunch of other things, because I love the sound of my own voice. I actually don't. If you guys ever listened to yourself on, like, recorded yourself, I used to hate the sound of my voice. I guess I'm used to it now because I've had to be used to it. But Anyway, I kind of wanted to address sensitivities today because I started thinking more and more about certain things. And I'm like, my God, you know, no matter what's been going on in my life, there's always been that underlying thing of sensory sensitivities and sensory overload, and finding little things like, these wrist things to help make life a little bit better. Even doing something as silly as wearing pink was a sensory issue. I refuse to wear pink, and I love pink. This is my little squeezy ball. I love pink, but I never wanted to wear pink because this is going to sound weird. I didn't want to be girly, so I like to wear blue. I was a tomboy, and I was like, no, I am not. I'm not girly. I didn't want to be girly, and I associated girly with pink because that's what my mom and dad kept trying to make me wear. So that was the last thing I wanted to wear. So anyway, what I'm going to be putting in my hair is one of my favorites, Nature's Little Secret, and this is the Irish Irish Moss Styling Cream, and it looks like that. I love it. Smell. It smells so good. So I'll be washing and conditioning my hair, and then I'll be putting this on as my leave-in conditioner. And then I will be putting on my Blue Magic hair grease. This is the Indian hemp. It's my favorite. And then I will be setting it all off with the Main Choice Tropical Moringa Curly Braid Out Plays, another top favorite of mine. And then I'll probably be twisting my hair up and leaving it for another 2 weeks. So every other week, hopefully, I'll be sitting here on the floor with you and doing my hair while I talk about whatever it is I'm going to talk about. And then every other week, then I'll be doing like a shorter type video without doing my hair. I want to practice doing that because I want to practice, I want to see if I can start doing, short videos without doing a whole lot of masking and everything like that. So, because I want you guys to see the real me, no matter what's going on. So, anyway, um, I feel like I have a little bit different energy from when I first started, which tells me that my Adderall has kicked in, which is excellent because now it's time to wash my hair and actually, function. And so the Adderall actually helps me with my executive functioning. So I'm able to do, I might not be able to do A through Z, but I can certainly do A, B, C, and D. And so we're going to try to do that today. And I usually try to only plan like one major thing per day to do, and today it's doing my hair. So anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I appreciate every single one of you and all of my new subscribers. And I'm having so much fun talking to you guys in my comments. It's really nice to meet you. It just brings me so much joy. And so I hope you like this video and share it with somebody that you know that's nosy and just wants to follow, an old lady's stories and, humor an old grandmother and let me ramble and, let me into your living rooms, once or twice a week would be great. So anyway, I love you all. Have a great week, and I'll see you in my next video.